Well, good morning. Obviously, it wasn't the way we anticipated starting, but after watching the game film, there was a lot of encouraging things that we saw as a staff, and obviously fixable things. That's always the things that you're looking for, those things fixable. And I'm very encouraged about our football team and the guys in our locker room. I thought the morale was very good yesterday, and when guys stopping in the office to study more film, the guys are very anxious to get back out on the field and prove that they are a much better football team than we showed last Saturday. No matter what the situation is, one of the messages to the team on Sunday is it doesn't matter what the scoreboard says or the clock says. You just got to play, and everything else will take care of itself. But sometimes, and I've seen this before, sometimes you get paralyzed by the scoreboard, and it doesn't allow you to unlock your potential. So we're going to make sure that our guys are focused on the game and not the scoreboard. That's more important.
What's the point of emphasis? What are the concerns from Indiana State's point of view?
Well, they'll be better for sure, and that was an uncommon thing to get beat as much as they did. But if you watch the film, there's a lot of things where they self-destructed on special teams early in the game, and they gave up some big plays, a lot of big plays, which allowed the game to get out of hand pretty quickly. It was 42-7, rather fast. So I'm sure they're going to play better. They have good players on their football team, but it's about us playing the way we're capable of playing, more so than anything.
Pete kind of asked you this a little bit, but what do you absolutely have to do better this week that you didn't do last week?
Well, the biggest thing offensively is we got to be able to get the plays in, get the plays called so we can get out of the huddle. Sometimes you put stress on yourself when you're breaking the huddle with 10 seconds, and all of a sudden you're rushing up to the lines, you got motion, you got shifts. That creates stress. So what we're going to do this week in practice is I want them out of the huddle and at the line of scrimmage by 15 seconds so we can see the defense and understand what we're blocking, make our calls up front. So those are the things that we're trying to concentrate to improve upon.
You obviously don't want the guys to panic. It's only one game, kind of stay the course. But what can you use from last week to build off of going forward? Well,
there's so many things. I mean, it's easy to see once you watch the film. Guys are out of gaps sometimes on defense because they're not doing their job. But there's so many different things you can take from the film to help us get better. And that's what this from 1 to 2 is all about, making sure we make the improvements in all the right areas. We got to make plays, both sides of the ball. The third down was probably the biggest component of the game that stuck out. They were 60% or better. We were only at 36% conversions. It's hard to win football games when you don't run so many plays. And we ran 28 plays offensively in the first half and not enough plays in the second half. And if you look at the timeline, like we talked about yesterday, if you look at the timeline of the game, it's a 7-7 game with about 25 seconds to go in the second quarter. And we give up a seam route for a touchdown and make it 14-7, and then they drove the ball for about 7.5 minutes in the third quarter. But it's still a football game, and that's when you can't stare at the scoreboard. Obviously, it's not good for you to see it, but it gives you some awareness now where we are in terms of those things. And if you can point those things out to them and they understand those situations, then you've made a step forward. And I think we've done that. And we'll see when we get in that situation again, if we're ever down again, 7-0, 14, we'll see how they respond. But I got a good feeling right now, just talking to some of the guys passing my office, that they get it now. They understand. We talked about it specifically, that you have to be able to respond when those situations happen and respond in a positive way and encourage each other. And Greg and I actually talked about it yesterday, but encourage each other when one unit might be struggling. And that's part of the game. At some point in time, the offense is going to struggle, and the defense has got to pick them up. At one point in time, the defense is going to struggle, and the offense has to pick them up. And that's all part of the game. And we talked about making sure we support each other in those situations, and that's how you move through those tough situations throughout the course of a game. Because it's going to happen. At some point in time, it's going to happen.